You're listening to the Midlife Ripening Podcast. I'm your host and your trusted midlife midwife, Brooke Hofstess. This is a space for real talk, soul talk, about living a life that's fully, finally yours. We're here for the second bite, the luscious, conscious one, the one you take not because you're supposed to or expected to, but because something inside you says, this is mine to savor. You've built the life, the career, held the family, the calendar, the entire ecosystem of care. And yet something deeper is stirring, a want, a whisper, a truth you're ready to name. Here we'll explore creativity, rest, desire, play, rooted confidence, and the holy audacity of being yourself. If you've outgrown the life that once made sense and you're listening for what's next, come closer. Midlife isn't a crisis, it's a coming home. Let's slow down, feel our way in, and begin again. Welcome, love. I want to start this episode by saying something honest. I did not mean to end up here. Not here exactly, not in this work, not in this identity I now carry as a midlife midwife. But I've come to believe that many of us find our way, not by charting a perfect path, but by surviving the very places we thought would break us. When I left home at 17, I was a tightly wound braid of nerves and ambition. I didn't know what healing looked like. I only knew I needed to become someone, and quickly. So I stitched together a future with the only tools I knew: good grades, good jobs, good credentials. I wore competence like armor, said yes when I meant maybe, became fluent in the language of overfunctioning. I built a life that looked right, a life that played well with others. I earned respect, tenure, accolades, but inside I was shrinking, quietly disappearing beneath the surface of what I thought I had to be. I had learned how to belong by performing, how to be loved by overgiving. Each time I came to a crossroads, I picked the safe, strategic option: grad school instead of blogging about creative living, academic publishing over soul-centered storytelling, tenured professorship instead of leading women's retreats. And while I don't regret the path I walked, even for a moment, I can see now how often I was choosing from fear. Fear of being seen as too soft, too weird, too woo. Fear of not being taken seriously. So I built a life to prove I was worthy, but not one that made me come alive. Midlife, thank the stars, interrupted it. It didn't arrive as a crisis. It came in more subtle ways: whispers, questions that wouldn't quite go away, waking up too tired for a life that could have been fulfilling, fighting back resentment at every new commitment, realizing that I had built a life that others admired, but one I actually didn't want to wake up inside. Eventually, the waiting and the careful hiding I'd been doing with my life could no longer hold. Burnout became my baseline. I was generous and helpful to everyone but myself. I kept going through the motions, quietly unraveling, and I was still measuring my worth by how useful I was. And my body, wise as ever, rebelled with persistent hives, bursts of anger, constant illness, exhaustion that no amount of sleep could touch. And then midlife came in like a knowing elder, and she put her hands on my shoulders and she said, "Love, are you ready to stop pretending? Are you ready to want what you actually want?" And to my surprise, I truly was. Nothing changed overnight. I started asking different questions. What if I no longer earned my belonging through usefulness? What if I let my creativity be the guide, not the reward? What if the soft, strange, brilliant parts of me were never meant to be ironed out? I embraced a late in life neurodivergent identity and with it experienced a radical softening towards myself. I started choosing in a new way, not for approval, but for aliveness, making the accommodations I needed for myself. Choosing the soul often means shedding the self concept we've spent years perfecting. And that's what makes midlife so juicy, so ripe. We're offered the chance to meet our longing and forgotten selves. This is what I call the second bite of life. It's not about burning it all down or starting from scratch. It's about weaving everything you've learned, the heartbreak, the wisdom, the parts you once hid, into something true, something more beautiful than you thought was possible. So here I am, welcoming all the paradox and all the tension, the rigor and the longing, the soul and the scholarship, the fear and the freedom. I'm gathering it into a body of work that helps other women remember what they already know, that they are effortless to love, that they are allowed to change without destroying anything. My life may look the same from a distance, but how I inhabit it now is entirely new. Because burnout didn't burn it all down, but it did rewrite the terms of how I want to live inside my own life. This podcast isn't here to hand you a formula for midlife thriving. I mean, I know you know there's no such thing anyway. And it's not about perfect timing or having it all figured out. It's about the courage to choose yourself, to listen to yourself, to take a second bite and a third and 100th. The women I work with are intention as well. They're brilliant and overextended and wildly capable and often aching for a life that feels more like theirs. So here's what I want you to know. Your next era doesn't have to begin with a big bang or announcement. Let it start in the pause, in the subtle questions, in the honesty waking you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So to wrap us up, what I share on this podcast is not just theory. It's lived, it's hard won, it's still unfolding. And it's shaped by the incredible women I've coached, mentored, and walked beside. I don't want to be the life coach with the answers. I want to name what feels true about being a midlife woman in this season, on this planet, in this political moment, in this body. Thank you for being here, for listening. I hope that a seed from today might take root in you, a thought, a question, a spark to carry forward. You don't have to earn a new life. You only have to return to the truth of who you are. Until next time, I'm so glad we're walking this path together. Thank you for spending this time with me and for making space to ripen in your own way, in your own time. If something landed with you today, trust that it matters. And if you'd like to take what you've heard here even deeper, I offer individual coaching and small group programs for midlife women reclaiming their rhythms and desires. You can learn more at brookehofsiscoaching.com or join my email series, The Second Bite. And if this episode spoke to you, I would be so grateful if you'd leave a glowing review or share it with someone ripening alongside you. Until next time, tend your heart and take the second bite.